Love
All
it.
right. There we go. All right.
Are we live?
Think so.
I think we're live everywhere.
Yeah. Where are you, Peter?
Right now, it looks like I'm in
Hawaii?
Hawaii, but I'm
All
actually in the
right.
backyard at CrossFit Malibu.
Okay. Cool.
It's
I'm
like
in
one of
my
my famous
office.
places to hang out and just like work sometimes because I'm in the shade of the trees. It's really pretty back here, and it's like with my buddy Mike Anderson. He's over working in the office over there, and I had some appointments in Malibu today, so I didn't get into Beverly Hills. I didn't get into Brentwood. Was able to stay local, and so kind of fun.
Okay. Cool.
How
Well,
about
I'm in
you?
my office. I'm in my office in Coronado, and I'm ready to talk about productivity.
All right. Is
So
your
let's dive
studio
in.
you're building in Coronado? Is that where you're going to have your studio? Is in the Coronado office?
Yeah, I hope to one day have this whole quality thing just be next level. So, but baby steps.
Yeah. No, I love it. I think
So,
it's great.
this week the theme for me has been productivity. I've been reading a book about it. I've been thinking about it. It's the thing that I don't know. I go in tangents. I don't know if you're like that. I go on tangents and just get into like rabbit hole about certain things. And I think the reason that I'm really connecting with this whole topic around productivity is that working in the real estate industry, working with real estate agents for as many years as I have, and I'm sure the same for you, it's like there's so much coming at us. There's so much that we deal with. Most of us are solopreneurs, meaning we run a business on our own. We don't have an assistant, and the workload seems to be ever expanding now with the onset of just so many distractions that are out there. There are and so many different players. Like if you think about a real estate, you think about uh, you think about like a real estate transaction, like how many people are involved in a real estate. It's like you have buyers, you have sellers, you have other agents, you have escrow in most places, title. There's just so many players. It's like,
Inspectors,
yeah,
loan officers, appraisers,
yep,
contractors, mold.
mold, yeah, mold.
But more than that, you know, is the complexity of a real estate transaction
Yeah,
and the complexity of the emotional um, process it is for buyers and sellers. And so all of this handholding, all of this knowledge base, all of the forms and contracts that have to be done, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's
Mhm.
it's it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, a lot of our files are like, 6 inches thick when we're done. And so for
Yeah,
agents, it can feel very overwhelming, and it can feel
yep.
uh, stressful, and it can feel like, how am I going to get to everything, and how am I going to do everything? And they can go into this high stress mode. And so many agents are just doing that on a daily basis. And some of them are like getting burned out. They're getting sick. They're, like that. And they're not as productive as they could be. And I think that what we want to do is like talk about productivity. Like, how do you kind of do that and stay productive? And how do you be productive and do that? You know what I mean,
Yeah.
too. So I think it's a great conversation, Dave. I mean,
Yeah, well,
who
like, and
doesn't want to be more productive?
I mean, just think about it this way. Like, if you think about what it takes to just like, we're just talking like, just in that section, we're just talking about like the actual transaction. We're not talking about everything about running, being the marketer, being the lead generator, being the appointment setter, being the person that takes the appointment, like being, HR, being the finance person. So it's like you've got that plus the transaction. And then if you're doing multiple transactions, it's it's kind of no wonder that our productivity is maybe not where we want it to be. And we talked last week a little bit about our different not our quadrants of execution, right? Plan with execution, no plan, no execution, no plan, execute, whatever. So I think about like you kind of run into similar personalities with agents. It's like I was saying this week on one of my reels, like you can have an agent that is like with very similar businesses. One is frantic and chaotic and everything's happening to them and they can't keep up and they're so busy. And then you can have a person with the exact same business who's calm and collected and kind of in check, right? And I'm sitting there going like, how is that possible? And I keep coming back to this place of Well, it's the decision making around their productivity that's running the whole thing. And so I think that's the discussion that we're here to have is like, let's kind of pick that apart a little bit. And the first place that I think about, Peter, which is easier said than done, which is say no more, say no more than you say yes. So I'm curious, like, what you
Well,
think,
well, well,
because
well,
it's
Matt.
hard to do, it's really hard to do.
Well, I've said this many times that the one defining difference of billionaires with a B, billionaires is they say no better and more often than millionaires.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the deal. They know what to just say no to, and they don't care, even if there's an opportunity with it. If it's not what they're doing, if it's not their focus, if it's not in their, so to speak, plan,
Yeah.
they say no. And I think so many people go, oh, they're like the squirrel mentality. Every nut, let's run for the next nut. Let's go. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And they don't do that.
Well, like, so, like, let's think about, if you're a realtor, if you're an agent, what are the things that are really hard to say no to? So the first one that comes to my mind back in the day is somebody wants to meet in an hour from now.
Yes.
Peter, I've got a listing, come over. I would say probably like 9.5 out of 10 times my inclination would be like, gotta go.
Yep.
But I also know from experience now that that's not the right answer necessarily, right?
100%.
Because you're going to go over there unprepared. You're going to go over not with the right information. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's a lot of reasons not to go, and that's probably debatable. I mean, I'm sure people could counterpoint that pretty easily and be like, well, if you get the at bat, you take it. I'm like, but I don't know about you. Like, I learned over time, if I just jumped when they said jump, it never went well. I felt rushed. I was unprepared. I didn't have all the information I needed, and so no was the right answer. And then I think about, like, showings. This comes up a lot working with agents. It's
Sure.
like somebody wants to go see a house. It's
Or
like,
worse, an agent wants to bring their buyer by. It's not even a direct buyer, right?
right,
Susie calls you. She has a buyer. We have to see the house right now. Do you
yeah.
just go show it?
I'd say the answer is probably no. My first instinct, but I mean,
How about try? Why not qualify it first? What does your buyer
qualified.
know
Yeah,
about it? What are they looking for exactly? Tell me. You know what I mean? Maybe pre-qualified. Put it through a filter of is this even the right house for them, based on
yeah.
what they're looking for.
Yeah, and so really what you're saying though is, like, if the mentality is I'm going to go to the place of I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to jump. My answer is no to start, and then qualify it to a yes. That's probably, I think, probably something that we could all benefit from. But it's so hard to do. But you've got to start somewhere. You've got to practice it. You've got to
But
start
there's
bringing
other
it in
things too that
because,
fall into this category of like maybe aborting something you were planning to do because you get this call.
Mhm.
Like one of the worst probably examples would be when you're going to do something good for yourself or spend time with your family and children, or you're going to go to the gym or you're going to do something like that, you pull up to the gym, just to use that as our example, and you get a call from the client. And it's five, let's say that your gym appointment is from 11 to 12. It's 5 of 11. You take the call or do you not? Because you only got that 1 hour. And so these kinds of situations happen not only personal to business, but business to business. And I think that, like we talked about this a lot, it's like sticking to your plans, sticking to
The commitment.
the objective, maybe what's most productive,
Mhm.
you know, and not just get knee jerked around. Like
Yeah.
just because, oh my God, that's the client that's like always unhappy. You know what I mean? I got to get this.
Well, and fall in love with the idea, and we've all heard this. I mean, I'm assuming most people have heard some version of this. It's say no more so that you can say yes to the things you really want to say yes to. That is a very powerful and true statement, in my
Mhm.
opinion,
Yeah.
because if you say no to taking that phone call, you get to say yes to taking care of yourself. And here's the thing, that phone call is probably going to be there in an hour. And sometimes having said no to that allows other people to jump in and solve the problem for you. How many times have you been in a transaction, Peter, where fire bells are going off and the lending's falling apart and the escrows, there's some issue and everyone's calling you to solve it. But maybe you weren't available in that moment. And then you call them back an hour later and they figured it out. And really what it was is that they were trying to hand the job off to you because they didn't want to do it. Time
Right.
can solve a lot of things. And so again, this is saying no more opens up our schedule and potentially opens up our productivity for the concept of deep work, which is kind of one of the things that I've been really honing in on is like, am I getting deep work done on the day to day, or am I just doing a lot of administrative kind of shallow tasking?
Well, there's another element to this too, is when you say no, or at least you kind of control the environment of whatever you're doing in the conversation. You are basically acting like a professional. When I think about when I go to the attorney or to the doctor or to my accountant, I don't walk in there and say, "This is how I want you to do my books."
Right.
And a lot of sellers and buyers say, "This is how I want you to sell my house," or "This is how I want you to find and buy me a house." And like at some point we got to go, "All right, well, thank you. I appreciate your opinion, but I've been doing this for 10 years. I let me tell you how I work."
Mm.
You know what I mean? And just grab control of the situation, because I don't know about you, Dave, but whenever they're beating you going in, they're going to be beating you going out. If you just remember that one thing, it'll
Um,
save
I
you a
haven't,
lot of it'll save you a lot of headaches.
I haven't heard that one, but I probably could have used that 15 years ago for sure.
You know what I mean? And I
Uh-huh.
think that you do it respectfully and nicely, but we're professionals, and
Mhm.
we have to maintain that professional I don't know, what is it, presence, professional.
Yeah,
I don't,
sure. We'll call it presence. Yeah.
yeah.
Boundaries.
So what do you do? I mean, how do you protect your calendar, Dave? How do you like manage
Yeah.
productivity that way?
Well, saying no more has benefited me greatly. But that's kind of like tip of the iceberg. I think really getting an understanding of how long things actually take. And when I am saying yes to something, what is it I'm saying yes to? And how many people and what, like simple tasks. Like I used this example with somebody this week. They were talking to me about whether or not to take on this buyer that was kind of outside of their geographic area. It was the area that the buyer was shopping in was like 45 minutes away. And I said, well, let's think about this. Like the price point seems attractive. It seems like, and the client seems well qualified. I'm like, but when you say yes, we're talking about 45 minutes there and 45 minutes back every time you need to interact and show that client some property. So they're not just saying yes to taking on a new client and adding that client to their pipeline and their roster and eventually um, um, their client group. Like they're saying yes to an hour and a half every time they have to interact with this deal. So I think we forget about that stuff. And that, I mean, that's a client specific, but like administrative overhead that comes with everything you do is far more than I think we're all pretty optimistic. I think falsely in it, like falsely positive, overly optimistic, going, oh yeah, I can do that in 10 minutes, recognizing later it took 30. That's 3x what you thought it was going to be. And I think that happens with the administrative overhead. We take on a task, we don't consider how many other people are going to be involved, how much more, logistics we're going to be dealing with. If do we have to learn something new? Is there a new system that needs to? So for me, I'm starting to get really in tune with like when I say yes, what am I really saying yes to? And if I have a task in my schedule, am I really aware of what actually needs to happen to order to complete that in the amount of time? So I think about like writing out my list for the day, Peter. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get that all done. Never happens. Yet I think it will. And I'm starting to learn, like when I look at it, I'm like, I'm not going to get this all done. Like that relationship, that change in that relationship has shifted my ability to be productive. Because then when I look at it, instead of going, oh, I'm going to get this all done, I look at it, I'm like, well, I know that this task and that task probably take about that long. And I know that's going to be more than I'm thinking is. It's probably going to be a series of phone calls because I'm probably not going to get through on the first time. And then I'm like, well, knowing all that, then what's actually important that makes sure that it happens today? That changes my relationship with productivity. So it's been interesting to toy around with it.
Well, no, I think you
What
make a
about you?
great point. And I just want to address that agent that wants to take a geographically undesirable listing or work with a
Right.
buyer that's not in their marketplace. I mean, the smart play, the productive play would be to call an agent in that marketplace and say, hey, you want to split this deal 50-50 with me? And
Yeah.
then you have your boots on the ground, you get your time back. Yeah, you're giving away half the money, but you're freeing yourself up to make a lot more money. Not just like wasting all that time on that one deal that by the time you end it, you're going to be working for about $5 an hour. And I think if we equate our time to how much we're getting per hour, it starts making you think about things a lot differently.
Mm-hmm.
You make a great point. I don't think people think through all of the elements of preparation, drive time, how long they're going to be in the meeting, follow up, and all that stuff. And so when you don't actually build that into your calendar, it's going to stress you out. So there's a lot of importance in really thinking things through clearly and being like a strategic field marshal, how you're going to like operate, execute. One of the things you're really good at, Dave. But at the same time, really, really productive people, even if they build that into their calendars, are really going from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. I mean, that is the
Yeah.
secret to success. I mean, you have to move fast. You got to get things done.
Mm-hmm.
So then there comes another aspect to this. It's not just the coordination and the logistics and the planning. There's also the mental, emotional maturity that comes
Mm-hmm.
when you can get that feeling like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. I've got all these things I have to do. I don't know how I'm going to get it done. And you can go, Peter, you've been around for a while doing this. It gets done,
Yeah. Yeah.
or it doesn't get done. And either way, it's okay. You know what I mean? What's the next thing to do? And so you can be like, so my point is, and hold your thought, my point being is that you can go fast. And if you're not like emotionally stressed out about it, and you're not just taking on this anxiety that is just a mental habit, an emotional habit, there's freedom from that too.
No, and you're right. And as you were saying that, what was coming up for me is I think about when you get into these productivity conversations, or if you go to like, I don't know, I'm sure you've been to like a seminar where it's like about getting things done and productivity. There's a lot of narrative that it's like, it's all about time blocking and efficiencies and all that. I don't think that that's real. I
No.
mean, I've tried to run an airtight schedule and it miserably fails because things come up. Like, like you gave the example when we were talking about this earlier. It's like, oh, your kid got injured at a sporting event. Well, you didn't see that coming, right? So now all that airtight schedule that your productivity and efficiency,
Out the door.
it's out the door, right? And a lot of businesses, especially real estate, I work with some folks, places like Manhattan, New York, like that is fast pace,
Yeah.
right? Fast pace. And there's so much, just the whole nature of that business is so quick. It's like this concept that there's going to be a perfect schedule, or how do you manage your, like, I don't know. I think it comes down to, like you said, it's an agile mindset. I think it's kind of what you're saying, like being dynamic in your thinking about, your schedule and going from one thing to the next. But then again, it comes back to that decision-making skill. Like, do you have a decision-making skill around what's important? What order do I do this in? Like, is it now, later, tomorrow, delegate, trash? Like there's some skill around productivity, and practicing it is important. It's like anything. It's like leadership skills. You got to practice it. Your scripts and what comes out of your mouth, you got to practice. Productivity is a skill too.
Totally. And you got to adapt. Like, I'm trying to make this like I had planned this location for this podcast the whole time. But actually what happened, if you really want to know the truth, is they're ripping my kitchen apart at my house.
Yeah,
and so the first place I went to do it didn't work. So then I searched for another place to do it, and I ended up here. And I'm passing it off as super cool, and here I am outside with surfboards behind me. But actually this
cool.
was not the plan, right? And so in some ways, Dave, and I know this is not going to be what you're thinking about productivity, and I know you so well because like sometimes, as much as we're alike, we're different.
Mhm.
And I think that, to me, my life sometimes is like a Netflix series where I'm the mayor of Kingstown, and I'm just going from event to event to event. I'm talking to Bunny, I'm talking to this guy, I'm talking to this, and I'm racing through, just dealing with what's in front of me right here, right now, like that. You know what I mean? And and
Mhm.
and like you said, making decisions, trying to keep an emotional stability and balance around it, getting done what I can get done, and then just letting go of it all at the end of the day. Like, it's okay. The day's done. Time to hang up the cleats.
That's hard. That's a skill.
We can visit it tomorrow, man. We're going to visit this thing tomorrow. It's going to be waiting for us. We put the cleats back on and we go back on the field, right? And I think that is a really good way to think about it. And what's interesting is, if you take time to, like, if you have a morning routine, which I always do, that's like the one thing that's just so constant in my life. I think
Mhm.
about these things and I go, oh, well, that situation resolved. That situation didn't, but it ended up being better for me. I
Yep.
learned, and I go through these, like, this thought process of, you know, because it starts off in my meditation and I'm overwhelmed with all the stuff I have to do. And then I think to myself, oh my gosh, but think of your life so far to this date, everything resolved. And so
So
then the trick is
that's like a
keep moving
day end.
forward.
That's like a reflection at the end of the day kind of thing.
Yeah. Keep moving
Do
forward.
you do
Just
that? Is that something you do?
always,
Really?
always. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day. I have to, because if I don't examine my life, a lot of success is from self examination. And
Yes.
that's something that's been practiced, since man was alive, and probably best known by Ben Franklin, who journaled and always, I mean, I think it was his comment that said, a life not examined is a life not worth living. If I,
Right.
maybe someone else, but I think it's Ben Franklin. And so many people don't examine their lives and they just keep spinning like the Tasmanian devil because they never stop to think, why am I doing this?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just like a aha moment that you can start shifting your behavior.
Yeah. Well, and like as you were saying that, one of the other things that kind of spun up in my mind was that end of day evaluation, I think is pretty critical because how many days do you get to the end of and go, I didn't accomplish anything, right? Because
And
that's
that's never
tied.
true, probably. It's probably
It's
not true.
probably not. And
Yeah.
and and so as you were saying that, I'm like, I'm thinking about today. Today's gone really fast for me. The fact that we're almost at the end of the day here. I'm like, what happened today? But I
Mhm.
actually had a pretty good, productive day. I talked to a lot of folks about a lot of things and, set some groundwork for some important work. But like, if I didn't take a time just in this conversation to have a chance to like, was it successful? Like, was this productive? Like, I don't know. That's not a very satisfying way to work and live.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Right. So that just means you get to the end of the week and go, oh, you know, on to the next week. And so I think that's going to probably bring your energy down and make you less productive because you haven't taken the time to evaluate. Was it a productive day? Did you get some stuff done? Was it important work? Was it deep work? Was it all just administrative? And that was just because there are days, Peter, and I don't know if you agree with this, but like there are days where just sometimes things just go sideways. And some days it's just about like
Oh,
getting
wow.
through it and you know handling what comes at you and I think that's okay.
Some
Don't think
days scary stuff happens, man.
Mhm.
Really scary stuff. And you
Yeah.
think, like, whoa, is my life going to turn on a dime here? And that
Mhm.
happens. It does.
Yeah. Yeah.
But productivity has seasons too. There are times in your life where you're going to be super, super productive, and there's going to be times in your life, and not in your life, in a year, in a month, in a day, where you're not going to be super productive, right? And so
Yeah.
I think about it like, how do we take advantage of the seasons?
So what do you mean by seasons? Like what does that
Well,
mean?
like, let's just say I'm on a roll and I'm just boom, 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 and I'm just, everything's going down. And then, I mean, we all have these moments where there's a lull, or there's a lack of motivation, or maybe there's a lack of inspiration, and that's where, like, even discipline doesn't kick in, because you just don't know how to act on this. You don't know what to do right now. You don't know how to think about something, and so, like, maybe you just kind of go into a slight stall,
Yeah.
right? And you don't want to stay in
Mhm.
that stall for a long time, but you can't always be at 100% throttle. It's not possible, not
Right.
only physically and mentally, but I don't even think the universe works that way. So if that's true, And just like there's summer, spring, fall, and winter, it's not that different in our productivity cycles, I would say. So,
Right.
I mean, we could probably analyze that a little bit more, but I think there are cycles of productivity, and I think it's true for everyone. And maybe it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
No, I think, and I kind of like it more than cycles. I like the concept of seasons because
yeah,
it's true. I think I probably had all 4 seasons this week, if there are 4 seasons. But like, I had 2 days that I know I just killed it. I had one day that I just like couldn't keep up, and I was like, "What's going on?" I had one day that felt kind of chill, and I was like, "Okay, like I can just kind of admin. I need to get caught up, And then today's kind of been the blend of both. But I think
yeah.
ultimately stick all the seasons together, and it's been a good week. So I like that concept. I'm gonna have to kind of think about that one a little bit more. So I think it's kind of a tie it all together here at the end. If you were thinking about productivity, what would be what I guess your advice, or what's your kind of final words on the concept of productivity?
Well, it starts with it's such a big question because I would first of all ask you, what are you being productive about? Like, what are you trying to
Hmm.
produce?
Yeah.
Productivity is about producing something. So let's get clear on what we're trying to produce. And then,
Hmm.
are you working on the things that's going to produce what you're trying to produce? In other words, are you working on those things that's going to create the result that you want?
Hmm.
Or are you letting other people, other things get in the way of you being productive? You know, that would be one thing.
Hmm.
And then I think I would also look at, like you said, like, how well am I respecting my time? How well am I managing my time? And am I even paying attention to time? Because time is, as we've always said, Dave, is the most valuable resource we have. So that would be my next thing, I'd look at. And then finally, I'd probably say to myself, maybe I'm doing everything right, but how's my mental game around this? How's my emotional nature? Am I acting like a
Yeah. How do
mature
you
human
feel?
being, or am I
Yeah.
just being a spun out squirrel rabbit, like with the brain the size of an acorn?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And then get clear on that,
Yeah.
because first of all, we got to decide if we're really being productive or not, and then secondly, we have to decide if we're enjoying our productivity or not. And sometimes it's a decision. Sometimes we're chasing the wrong things, and sometimes it's just a Peter Pan principle, where you think life should be fairyland all the time.
Hmm.
So, and I know that runs very prevalent. It does for me. I mean, heck, I was the prodigal son for years, so I get it. But
Hmm.
there's a lot in that, and that's I
Yeah.
think where self reflection comes in, and
Yeah.
really looking at yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. And I think that part that you keyed in on there is like, how are you feeling about it
Mm-hmm.
is really important, because we can be productive and feel really poorly about we can yeah, I mean, we cannot feel good about the productivity that we're doing. I know productive people that are maybe not that happy,
Yeah.
you know, because so I think that's you're bringing in a different layer that I wasn't thinking about. So I appreciate that very much.
I also think it's a we're all going to have difficult situations. Productivity sometimes is, like you said, getting blindsided, or I think you said, like, having something
Yeah.
come out of left field that just really,
Yeah.
you got to attend to it. You have to do it. You got to face it. It's an unhappy client. It's your child gets hurt at the baseball game, whatever it is. You know what I mean? And how do you approach that? Do you approach it
Hmm.
with a sincere desire to help, or are you approaching it like, oh my gosh, I'm scared, or why is this person being such a jerk, or like what like there's so many ways to kind of look at a negative situation.
Yeah.
Wow, wouldn't that be cool if we could come from a place of, how can I be a service here? How can I
Hmm.
really help this person through this difficult situation? I know it's not me. I know it's them. So I shouldn't take this personally. So how do I show up for this so that I can really, really, help this person, get through whatever they're fearful of.
Hmm. Yep. I like that.
How about you?
Cool.
What would be your?
Uh, I I feel like the longer I work with real estate agents, I mean, I have so much respect for what real estate agents do. Like, number one, it's a hard business. It's a fun business, but it's hard, it's stressful, it can be lonely, right? And so when I run into these people that you can see that they're capable of so much more, but they're stuck in this like can't get it all done. It's, I'm busy, I'm slammed. Like, it's like I'm almost like making it a mission to like, let's get out of that mode, because there is a way to get out of that mode. And so for me, uh, I think my advice is, getting better boundaries about what you commit to is really important. Uh, and I think start getting start making it a goal to get through the week feeling as though you've done meaningful work,
Mhm.
right? Like you said, if we're talking about productivity, like what are we trying to produce?
Mhm.
And make sure that whatever you're trying to produce, that like you're kind of like each day and each week getting progress on those things. And so I really liked your idea of evaluation at the end of the day, going, was it productive? Did I get something meaningful done? Um, and then if you're unsure, like get really sciency about it. I mean, I said in um, one of my Instagram reels this week, like set an egg timer. Like you're going to sit down, you're going to prepare for a listing presentation, set an egg timer and see how long does it actually take? Because I think that there's that kind of how we feel, how we think about it. Maybe we're optimistic, and then there's like the facts. And that I'd like to go that direction. It's my personality. It's like get a little scientific about your productivity. I don't like this concept of like this efficiency, airtight, like buttoned up. It's all about product. But like there is a part of it where if you start getting in tune with the facts and the reality of things and how long they take and what you can get accomplished in a day. And I think that's important to improving your productivity because it allows you to make better decisions around it. So,
You
um,
said something to me. You said something to me this week, and I've really been thinking about it a lot. And I even had a conversation with an agent today about it. Was are you being authentic to yourself? Are you being authentic? Is your vision authentic, or are you chasing someone else's dream? I think is how you said it.
mm, mhm.
And I think if you're chasing someone else's dream, or you're doing something because your parents asked you to do it, or you're doing something because your family's always done it, or you're doing something because you think you should because they're doing it and you should be like them because everybody thinks they're cool or whatever, it's going to always feel crappy. And your productivity probably will never be at the level it could be. And you're never going
Mhm.
to take the time to do the things we're talking about right now. You know what I mean? To be
Yep.
productive, to grow emotionally, and all those things, because you're not doing really what you want to do. And
Mhm.
so, I guess we can dig into this heavily more, but I'm just kind of curious, like, how do you get someone to think about that? How do
Yeah.
you get someone to, I mean, how do you get someone to, like, let's just say they shouldn't be in real estate. You know what I mean? You can just feel it. You can see it. You can hear it. They really don't like the business. How do you get them to realize that so that they can do what they really should be doing, like playing music or chasing that acting career? I ran into someone just the other day, and then, oh man, I think I made somebody angry, but because the parent was there, and I said, and this guy went to school to be an actor and to be in the entertainment industry, and now everybody's pushing him to be in title and to pushing him to be in this and that. And I go, dude, man, forget all that.
Go be an
Be
actor.
broke. Chase your dream, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you don't chase it and try, I think it's gonna like haunt you.
Well, and to put a bow on this conversation, in that situation, I would say that if you're really struggling to have productivity and you dread the productivity and you don't have authentic feelings about what you're creating and producing on a daily basis, that's where the conversation has to start.
Hmm.
Why am I not succeeding in this? Why am I struggling to be productive? Why, you know what I mean? Why can't I
Hmm.
get things across the finish line? That's a good jumping off point for that
Yeah,
conversation. And maybe that's what we should talk about next week. And our end of week catch up is like,
yeah,
when do you maybe start having that conversation,
yeah.
which could be interesting. I
It
mean,
could even be somebody that's really successful too. That's what's funny. It could be somebody that's actually crushing it in real estate, but they just don't like it.
I've seen it. I've seen people walk away from very successful businesses because they just have that aha. But
I was talking
it's
to this guy. I'll end it on this because I know we've gone over, Dave. But there was this guy that is a really good real estate agent, and I coach him,
Mhm,
right, and he's really really good, and he's got like the
mhm.
best personality, and he's a prospector, and he's out there pounding the pavement, and doing a really good job. But he was talking to me about this idea that what he really wants to do is be a stand-up comic. He wants to be an influencer. He wants to be a stand-up comic. He wants to be a personality,
Mhm.
and he's really funny, and he's really good at that too, right? And so I said to him, like, no, I mean, don't. You got this thing going. I just went into this mode where like you're making money, and then I called him back the next day and I go, you know what? I thought about that. I was wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Money's not everything. If that's what you want to
No.
do, you got to do it, man.
Yeah. Well, and maybe do both and see what gets legs.
Right. Do
Mhm,
both. See what gets legs. That's the right
mhm.
advice.
Yeah. All right. Well, as always, I enjoy our end of week catch up here. Hopefully, everyone that's tuning in has taken something from this. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks, Peter.
If nothing else, I get something from it.
Me too. All right. Enjoy
All
CrossFit
right.
if you're going to do that. I don't know. Maybe you're going to go surf. I don't know.
No, no, no. I got to be productive, man.
All right. All right. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Thanks for tuning in.
All right.
We'll see ya. Bye.